Hello, everyone. This is Haley again with episode 4 of a podcast that I'm doing with my dad that is entitled George's Jungle. This episode is going to be about a pretty, I don't know why it's controversial, but a pretty controversial subject in America anyway, and globally, But it's going to be about race, racism, my dad's experiences as a black man in America dealing with racism and law enforcement, and maybe we'll tie some colorism into there. But I think we're planning on discussing a lot of heavy topics, and if you've stuck with us this long, you know that my dad can talk about some heavy stuff. So all that said, Dad, I guess my first question for you to get us rolling is, how do you feel about the racial tension in the country right now? How does it differ from what you grew up with?
Well, thank you, Haley. Appreciate it. You're doing a wonderful job, and I'm thankful that you're doing this for me to help me out, get my mind right. But anyway, when I was growing up, we didn't really notice. I mean, I think our parents and the older kids in my family noticed race, but I didn't really notice it. My friends and I, we didn't really notice it because we were in our own neighborhoods, and we saw our own friends and the people that were our color, so we didn't really see it, and it wasn't really thrown in our face. As I got older, high school, there was like a lot of white kids bused to the black high school that I went to, which turned the black high school white. And they called it busing. So for like 4 years, I didn't see anything but white kids. And I mean, that's the first time I ever saw them bring actual dogs into a school to check lockers. I'd never seen that done before in any elementary school, junior high school. I had never seen it till they brought all those white kids into the school. And they actually started making them open up their lockers, and that's when I really found out what white people had in their backpacks, what white kids had in their backpacks. They did not have books. They had weed. They had a shitload of weed. I was like, damn. And mushrooms and acid and them stars that you put on your tongue, and they give you a 16-hour trip where you're just looking at fluorescent light and colors and shit. I mean, it was crazy. And, they all had cars, and, they came in and they just raised the test scores and everything. And then as I got older and I got out of high school and I got into my work life, that's when I really started to notice the difference. I mean, how, white men would get jobs over black men, and, how you had to really work a lot harder. And it didn't even really matter if you worked harder or not. They pick and chose who they wanted, which nigga they wanted to move forward. The one that was going to toe their party line. And a lot of black men, a lot of the ones that made it, they turned into those kind of niggas. They turned into them niggas that would just be anything that the white man wanted them to be, because they wanted money, things, and stuff. And that's the only way they knew how to get it back then. But now, I mean, with the way the situation is now around the world, I mean, it's a wake-up call, but I'm kind of scared of the wake-up call that it is, because I don't know if it's legitimate, or I don't know if it's man-made. I don't know if it's a real passionate feeling. I know the black people in Black Lives Matter, I know they have a real passion, but I don't know if all the white people that are coming to all these marches and sitting and listening and cheering and chanting, I don't know how many of them are CIA. I don't know how many of them are FBI. Because they've always, since the beginning of time, they've been scared of niggas. They've been scared of black people because we've had more strength, more ability, more just will to persevere, because we've had it so hard all the time. And that's why when I look back on my life and I think about what my mother did to me, I can kind of show her some favor, because she had a half-white man leave her. My dad was half-white, so he left her, and he went and he did his thing, did other women, and she just felt so bad that, he left her with me. That's why she really bent a lot of her anger in my direction. But, I mean, with the way the streets are now, there's a lot of passion, and like I said, there's a lot of, you think people really understand it, but you got to look beyond it. You can't just look at it for what it is, that kumbaya moment where everybody's going to hug. You can't look at it like that. You got to look around the side, over the top, under it. You got to look for the real shit that's really happening. Because as much as you think they might love you, look, white people, they love money, things, and stuff. They love going on vacation. They love working for a little bit and making a lot of fucking money. They love that shit. And they don't like when black people start standing up for themselves because they think it's going to make them, come into their area, come into their zone, and start getting their jobs. If there's all this understanding, white people feel like, they'll automatically go back to feeling bad for themselves, feeling sorry for themselves. And they've had everything since the beginning of fucking time. They've had it all of it. And anytime a nigga get a little bit, just a little tiny bit on their territory, what they claim is theirs, then if they didn't invite you in, they really get bent out of shape. They hate that shit. And that's what I grew up with. I mean, back when I was growing up, you had, like, in their neighborhood, they may have had 2 or 3 black people in their neighborhood. One family, 2 families in the neighborhood. And they kept them in line. They invited them to the parties. They invited them to everything, but they made sure to keep them close. Because they were their enemy. Really, they weren't their friend. They were really their enemy. And that's how white people feel. They really think that giving a little bit of money here, giving a little bit of money there, giving a free operation here, giving some free child care here, they think that they're doing something. No, that's bullshit. We should be on the same motherfucking plateau, at least by now. It shouldn't even be a question. We shouldn't even have to be marching down the streets no motherfucking more, talking about Black Lives Matter, we still overcome, kumbaya. We shouldn't have to do none of that shit. It is 2020. We were saying when 2000 hit, when they thought Y2K was going to fuck up everything. And Prince's song, 1999, was the shit. Because everybody thought that was the end of the fucking world. And Y2K came and it went. It went. But white people, they still, to this day, feel like if you get a little bit, if a nigga get a little bit into their area, wherever they think that's theirs, then they panic. If you just get a little bit, these motherfuckers panic. So when they're marching with you, when they're crying and, you see the cops beating them upside their head and you see them getting cut a little bit and whatnot, think about how niggas got shot, hung, stabbed. So this could be a joke. This could be a perpetration of some on a mega scale, really, because they don't know where Corona really came from. They don't know. I mean, we don't know where it came from. They might, but we don't. We don't. And I'm telling you, the only time white people really want to come around want to be close to black people is when there's turmoil, when they know some pain and some hurt is coming, because they want you in front of them to deflect all that shit, because they know niggas will open up their mouths and talk shit at the drop of a hat. And white people are scared of that. But they want to be close enough to it so that they can see it coming. So that they can say, oh, see, we're your friends. We're on your side. Let me tell you something. Just like a month ago with this Breonna Taylor, when these white people across the street from us, they just moved in. They've taken over this neighborhood. These white people just moved in to Miss McDaniel's house, or old lady's house that I knew when I was growing up. They moved into her house. Now, they they come out in their yard. They're making friends with all the white people in the neighborhood. They haven't really made friends with any of the black people on the block, but they made friends with all the white people, especially their neighbors to either side of them and across the street next door to us. But anyway, I've been coming out, getting the newspaper or whatever, and seeing him with his kids in the yard. He never really paid any attention to me. I kind of like waved at him once, and he didn't really look at me. But when they left, they went on a little vacation. They bought a little mobile trailer, and they went on a vacation. And so all of a sudden, I saw in the corner of their window, written on cardboard, "Justice for Breonna Taylor." And I looked at that. And I thought to myself, wow, you know what? maybe he's not such a bad person. You know, maybe they're not such bad people. Maybe he just didn't talk to me because, you know, he's just having a bad day. But I thought about it. I looked around and I looked over and I looked under it. And I thought about it. And I was like, you know what? They put that damn thing in that window because they didn't know if turmoil was going to run in the streets to this neighborhood. And they put that in their window so that people would see that and they say, oh, they support, that house supports Breonna Taylor. We can't do nothing to mess with that house. But that's how they think. And then when they came back, all of a sudden, that sign was gone. It magically disappeared. And I was like, okay. And then one of the little girls that lived next door to them, the little girl, she's really, really a cute little white girl. Little baby, but she can walk. She came into the yard. I was cutting the grass, and she just yelled across the street at me. She was like, hi! And I waved at her. I was trying to talk to her. You know, and she was just asking me questions and, you know, just real inquisitive, just really a pretty little white girl. And then her mother, or her father, well, the mother was outside in the yard with her, but the father came out, and he said, get back in this yard. These, hey, look, you gotta look. You can't look straight at white people's eye, because if you look them in the eye, they doing a bunch of shit right around your periphery. You can't look them in the eye. You gotta step back and you gotta look them in a circle, top to bottom. Put them in a circle and look at every fucking bit of them, because they are scandalous, scary, treacherous, lecherous, larcenous, evil people. They are. Believe me, they are. Because if they weren't, we wouldn't still be singing "We Shall Overcome." We would have overcame. I'm sorry if you don't like this, white people, but if you listen to this shit, I'm sorry if you don't like it. I'm telling you the fucking truth. There's a pastor. His name is Kenneth Copeland. Okay? Kenneth Copeland has more security than Donald Trump, than the president. Okay, this motherfucker can go to his dining room or living room window. Probably living room, dining rooms, probably a bunch of rooms. You can just see big ass windows. But I saw his house once, and he can stand in his house, and he can look at his airstrip. He's got an airstrip that comes right on his fucking property. Do you hear what I'm saying? He's got 22 planes. 22 planes. He's a pilot. His parishioners, they bought him a state-of-the-art $30 million Lear jet. I mean, they tried to interview him. His security will get in your face and push you out the fucking way and hurt you. They will fuck you up if you try to talk to this man. But he's God's voice. He's the voice of God. That's where we make our mistake. You know, God, okay, we are under the assumption that we think on the same level as God. That's the problem. We don't know that. We know that book is all we have to know him by, but that's been so run through, we don't even know what's true and what's lying there. But we don't think on God. God doesn't know what you're singing. God doesn't know how much money comes into your church. God doesn't give a fuck how big it is. What the fuck are you talking about? God is a spirit. It's a feeling. It's a hope. It's a caring. It's a fuck. I hope it understands me. I hope it'll listen to me. That's what God is. God is not your pastor. God is not your deacon. Because what they're trying to do, if they're trying to fuck you, or fuck you up, or fuck you over, that's all they do. That's what they do. But if they cared about us, if white people cared about us, we'd be on the same level as them. We'd be competing on them on an even level playing field for jobs, for money, for love, for everything. For everything. But they got us so fucked up and so mixed up, we can't even love our wives. Our wives can't love our husbands. The man and wife can't love their kids. They can't wait for Corona to be over. They can't wait for Corona to be over. They are so sick of being in the fucking house with their kids, and I'm talking about all of us. But it's so simple. The answer, Jesus, God, the answer to them is it's simple. They didn't make it hard. The answer is simple. We make life hard because we're chasing money, things, and stuff. If we literally stopped chasing that stuff that's out there, and we started looking at each other and trying to get to know each other, I'm talking about black people. If we just stopped following their lie, and what they say is wonderful, and what they say is good. Because if you ever get around some white people, especially some rich ones, man, they need all their butlers and their maids, because their motherfuckers live like nasty ass fucking pigs. They live like trailer trash white people. They really do. Nasty. And then when black people get that bunch of money, they go off and act just like white people. Go off and buy a bunch of shit, buy a big ass fucking house, buy all this nasty ass clothes and all this shit, and they're miserable. Because they opened up that little box, Pandora's box right there, and now they know that there's nothing in there. So they're fucking miserable. So how do they make themselves feel better? By making you feel miserable. By making you think that all this Burberry and baby fat and Prada and all that bullshit means something. It doesn't mean anything. Because if it meant something, it would have meant something back in the day when they had it. You're still recycling all that bullshit from back in the day. Look at some of these old shows. Old 30s and 40s shows. That's where all that bullshit comes from. All of that bullshit comes from then. Just recycling it. You keep recycling a bunch of bullshit, and black people keep following this recycling. So you're recycling on top of recycling. It's fucking ridiculous. Wake the fuck up. I wish I could go to Spike Lee's house, because he made all those movies trying to wake motherfuckers up, and I wonder if he's asleep, living like they live. You know? Or I wonder if he taught his kids to work and not just be live off of what he is. You know? I mean, I was talking to my daughter. She didn't even know Bill Cosby had a son. His name is Ennis. Was Ennis Cosby. He graduated, I believe he graduated from Harvard, from Columbia, and he had getting a couple of doctorates. He was really, really smart. But he never, ever used his father's fame or publicity to ever do anything. He didn't want it. He was a different kind of kid. I don't know if Bill Cosby was trying to live vicariously, making himself feel good because of all the bullshit he was doing back then by teaching his son not to be like him. I don't know if that what was happening, but either way, Ennis, he did not believe in all of that kind of stuff, glitz and glamour. But anyway, he went to California. He had just gotten out of school. He went to California to be with his girlfriend and her family, and he ended up blowing a tire on the side of the road. Okay. Now this is what fucks me up. He blew a tire on the side of the road. So he called his girlfriend from the car. He had a Mercedes SL, and he called his girlfriend from the side of the road, and she came to shine her lights on the car while he fixed the tire. Now, a guy came up, shot him I believe he shot him in the head. Didn't take anything because the girl, she drove off because she was scared. She drove off, but she came back. And when she came back and called the police, they found him. He still had his Rolex on. He still had his wallet. He still had about $1,000 in cash in his pocket, and he was just left on the side of the road. Necklaces, everything was still on. I don't know what they never. That's a Tupac and Biggie type situation there, because they never found out, and they never really even pushed it. But anyway, I mean, I'm saying a bunch of stuff, but black people, we really we really got to stop falling for it, because even dealing with the when I had a lot of incidents with the police when I was younger, because I was just stupid. Nobody taught me anything, so I was just stupid. I was just in the streets doing stupid shit. But anyway, I got arrested for something. I forget what it was. Might have been stealing some shit. I don't know. I forget what it was. But anyway, I got arrested, and the cop took me downtown, And this motherfucker, man, see, that's how smart ass these motherfuckers are, man, especially them white ones. He got me into the jail. You know, he started frisking me and whatnot, taking my pockets and whatnot. He said, "Oh man, you know what? Hey, I'm dropping the charges, man." He's like, "You know what? I'm dropping the charges." And then I turned around. This motherfucker had taken my charges that he had in his hand and threw them on the floor, talking about I'm dropping the charges. See, that's how smart ass the motherfuckers are, man. That shit was kind of funny. But I mean, I've seen cops, young cops, take their girlfriends in the police car, you know, take them, you know, to the clubs downtown, and just make sure they safe and protected. I mean, on duty doing this shit. Coming to pick them up from the apartments and taking them and making sure they all taken care of, and avoiding calls in black neighborhoods. I mean, avoiding calls. I saw a story on this when I was younger, about 30 years old when I was here. I saw a story about that. That's what they were doing. They was taking their little girlfriends and doing security for them, and fucking them, taking them home, having sex with them, on duty, and avoiding calls in black neighborhoods. When I was growing up, they wouldn't come. They didn't give a fuck. They wouldn't, and if they did come, somebody was going to jail. So the women stopped calling the police because they're gonna just beat the man up, you know, acting like they're trying to protect the woman, but they're not. They just want to hit on a nigga. They are so scared of niggas, it's not funny, and they've always been scared of niggas. But we've been scared to advance against them because we don't think the same law applies to us. Unless one of us gets out and goes to college and becomes a lawyer and learns the law. And you know, most brothers learn the law in jail. It's sad to say, but most of them learned what the fucking law was in jail. Because when I was in jail, I mean, not for long, like 2-3 months at a time in my life, maybe a couple of times like that. But when I was in jail, I would see these niggas, these smart niggas that got in trouble. They'd be writing briefs for like writing briefs for these niggas and sitting down telling them about the law, and it'd be true because they've been in there so long and they've been dealing with their lawyers and reading them books and shit for so long that they literally became jailhouse lawyers. That's where the term came from. It wasn't white men that they called jailhouse lawyers. It was niggas. White boys was coming to the niggas because that's all we had. We didn't have real lawyers. The public defenders, I don't know what the fuck they do. They don't do shit. The public defenders are like the lawyers who did really bad on the fucking bar. And they couldn't get into a law firm. They couldn't even start a law firm. They were stupid. So they knew a little bit of law. They knew a little bit of litigation about, you know, family and whatever. But they know it was the niggas. It's the niggas in these jails that's helping these niggas. Well, today it's a little different. You can get a little bit of help now because they're listening a little bit more. But I'm telling you, if you're not careful, this moment's going to pass by, and it's going to be, it's just going to be reinvented, you know, and they're going to be good. Everybody's going to get over it. You got to keep the fire lit. They're already talking about right now, George Floyd, this 3 of the motherfuckers getting off. They're already talking about it right now. They're already showing in his mouth. There was a little piece of, looked like some white plastic, that's a little piece of white plastic in his mouth. You know, they don't know if it's cocaine or what it is, but it's a little white baggie in his mouth. You know, you see that. But that don't mean you put your fucking knee on his neck and kill him. I'm telling you, they if you do not keep the pressure on white people, they will help you get over it. They will help you get over it. And that's the lie of all these white people marching with these niggas. That is the lie. I'm telling you, they're going to say, well, we've marched and we've marched and we've marched. Isn't it time to get over it? Isn't it time to move on? Isn't it time to go back to work? Isn't it time to, you guys to have your Martin Luther King Day and your Black History Month? Isn't it time? Isn't it time? Isn't it time? You think I'm fucking playing. I'm 57 years old. I've seen it happen at least 3-4 times.
Okay.
You got to be careful. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. On that note, we've got about 5 more minutes, and in the closing, I want to ask you whether you think it's possible for us to reach a post-racial or non-racist society, or if you, like, what do you think our pathway is to that, if any? And if you don't think there's a pathway to that, talk about that a little bit.
No, there's absolutely no pathway. White people will destroy this motherfucker before they let anything like that happen. Too much of a classist system. And if they don't have somebody to put their classishness over, what are they going to do? No, they always have to have somebody that looks worse than them, that's lower than them, and they will start using their own people, which they've done that before. But I'm just telling you, it's never, ever, ever going to happen in our lifetime. No. I don't even think it will happen in our great-grandchildren's, your great-grandchildren's lifetime. Hell no. No. They don't give a fuck. No. Mm-mm. White people, they hate us that much. They literally hate us. They love Mexicans. There's more Mexicans voting for Trump than there are Mexicans. That's why he'll probably win. Because I talk to Mexicans all the time. They love that man. They love the fact that they're not treated like black people are. They have skills. Our skills were all taken away from us. And when they brought drugs into the neighborhoods, back in the 50s and 60s, when they brought those drugs in and they took away school teachers, principals, construction owners, principals, in the neighborhood. We had all of that in our neighborhood. When they took that shit away, they don't want to see us do well. Never. They hate us. If there's one thing I can leave with you, please understand. They don't like you, and they're never going to like you. They'll put up with you. They'll kumbaya with you. They'll cry with you. They'll say, I love you. They'll hug you. But honestly, when they sit at their dinner tables at night, that's why they don't want to lose that dinner table moment and that mother and father moment, because that's where daddy sits at the table and tells them, no, you're better than them. They're under you. That's what they've been telling them forever, and they'll never lose that. They don't want to lose that classist system. So that's all I got to say on that.
Okay. Well, in our last maybe 2.5 minutes, I am very passionate about this subject in particular, as is my dad. And, I naturally inherited that from him. And, my mother, we're all black. And, being a black person in this society, in this country, in this world is incredibly difficult. There are so many topics that we could cover. I mean, in season 2, if we keep doing this podcast, we're probably going to talk about this much, much more, because this is not even the surface. We are like completely submerged. Like, we have not scraped the surface of how prevalent racism is and how deceptive and, evil. I'm going to say evil white people can be, and how they'll smile in your face just to stab you in the back. So, like people of color, they try to lump us all in, black people of color, POC, but other people of color are incredibly anti-black as well, and incredibly racist and prejudiced against us. We are at the bottom of the totem pole. We try to align ourselves with Asian people and Latinx people, just any other person of color, and even they will try to distance themselves from us. That's just a fact. But to not go on for too long, I want to say thank you, all of you, for sticking with us through some really tough material. And we hope that you'll stay with us and keep listening and keep, letting us know what you think, what you feel, if you can relate, anything that you'd like us to talk about or anything that you'd like to ask my dad, post it in the comments and, I'll let him know. And we'll talk about that next week, where that'll be like our halfway mark. We'll actually be talking about my paternal grandmother, my dad's mother, and that is going to be quite, yet again, a heavy episode. But on on this episode, Dad, would you like to leave the people with any other remarks?
Yes. I know it's not a thing people really care about, or they don't think we deserve it, but black people deserve reparations. And you give the Indians some casinos, I know you fucked them up, we at least deserve some reparations. We deserve something. I'm not even lying. You give the Jews money, you give the Mexicans money, you giving everybody money, but if black people start asking for money, why are they asking for money? They don't need this, they don't, because you fucking fear us. Give us our fucking money. Reparations for niggas. Whatever. Something.
I don't think that's a real website, y'all, but it should be. I totally agree with my dad. Yeah, reparations. We need them. Okay, yes, so this has been episode 4 of George's Jungle. Thanks again for sticking around, and, come hang out with us next week when we talk about some more heavy shit. All right, bye, guys. Dad.